How's it going, everyone? I wanted to do a little video to talk about my last video in Incomplete History of Satanism, Part 1, and just kind of, how that went, the reception for it, and what I'm planning on doing moving forward with the project. So, first of all, I want to thank everyone who interacted with the video in any way, even if you left a dislike. Hey, at least you took the time to give your opinion, and hopefully you at least watched enough of it to really know what it was about. So I appreciate everybody who took the time to interact with the video, and I was pretty overwhelmed with the reception. I mean, right now, last I checked, sitting at like 1.8 thousand views, which that more than quadruples my highest view count on my other videos. Well, it did. I think, my Jones Plantation review has gotten more views since then also, but I mean, my other views on my other videos before that is like, I think the highest is like 30 something. So, I mean, seeing numbers like that, it's not huge, but it's very encouraging. I mean, it was better than I expected, and so it kind of tells me I need to be doing more of this kind of content because I want to reach as many people as I can. So, thank you for everybody who took the time to watch it. Even if you didn't watch it all the way through, I know, taking almost an hour out of your time to, watch something if you're not really into it, and not everybody's going to be, you know, that's, that's a big demand in this day and age when we have so much going on. But thank you to everybody. And I think, I got 60 some new subscribers. Before this, I had like 17. So, I mean, that's awesome. You know, I, so I'll definitely be continuing this. I mean, I was planning on it either way, but that's very encouraging. So thank you again, everyone. Let's see. So there were, I'll go into a little bit about some of the issues I encountered when making the video. One of the biggest challenges was finding pictures to go with everything that I'm talking about, especially if I'm talking about like abstract ideas. It's hard to always find a picture that kind of goes with it, but I wanted to keep the pictures flowing. And so, I mean, you got to think that's like hundreds of images, and you got to, time it all, and you got to put the transitions so it's not just like flip, flip, flip. I mean, that works sometimes too, but I chose to use the transitions because there was also no animation in the video, which may change in later videos. I'm still kind of learning this program, and I might use other programs too. So, the goal is to keep getting better. Um, I was happy with the music. I found a site where you can license music royalty free. It is a subscription base, but it's a, small fee. And I don't mind doing that because, I mean, you're kind of supporting, like when say underground artists, like it's, but, independent musicians just out there trying to do something. So, uh, and let's see, I had to re-record my vocals. So the vocals are the what do you want to call it? I can't think of the word right now, but the voice track, whatever. I had to re-record that, so if you notice on some of the sections, my voice has like a different timbre. Like I go from just talking like this to talking like this, like I'm trying to sound like all intense or something. I don't know. And it kind of sounds silly, and I I should have considered that when re-recording the vocals, and do it all the same way. So, that's something just I'll be aware of. I didn't want to re-record the whole thing again. So, that's how it came out. Maybe I'll redo it later, but I would rather keep moving forward and getting more into the information in these topics. So, let's see. There were some comments about like topic jumping, and I can understand that. I know where that's coming from, and if you've watched my other videos, I kind of do that a lot anyway, so that's kind of how my mind works. And I struggled with how to start this, and I think, to be honest, I was initially, I have an outline, and right now it's going on like 80 or 90 pages so far, and these are just mostly just topics that I want to research for the video. So the section for this particular video, it was, what was it? I don't know, 5 or 10 pages by the time I got done. I don't remember. But, what was I going to say? Okay. So, I wanted to have a kind of cohesive narrative and start to finish, and just do all the research first, and then plan, okay, now what should the first video be about? But I decided I wanted to also keep putting out content, and didn't want to wait like a year to be able to start on the first video. I want to keep my channel active. So I decided I'll just pick a topic and I'll start on that. And, the reason I chose the deities, because some people thought that it was an odd place to start, and maybe it was, but I guess it's kind of one of those things where, how do you choose a place to start when, if you want to look back through history and try to find an origin to all these things? Well, the origin starts with the human psyche, right? That's where every creation starts. So, I figured, what better way to start to understand the human psyche than, how they view these deities, and, what elements of the psyche they speak about. And then, you have the whole astrotheology thing, how that all comes into it. It's something that we'll build on. Okay, in this next video, I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to go into some of the ancient cults, and kind of, go like way back through history, about as far back as I can at this point, based on what I know. Because a lot of this is stuff that I already know, but then I have to dig deeper in order to, get to the documented information on these topics. It's one thing, to have like researched all these topics for years now, like, some things and you hear a lot of things, but when it comes down to knowing, well, where where this is coming from, now you have to like go back and, okay, so, this guy made this claim, so where did that come from? And, why did he say that? And is it true? Or can we prove it? Because a lot of this stuff I know to be true, but can I prove it with any source that if you're just completely doubting all this, that you're going to take it seriously? I mean, I don't know. I'm going to try. But I think that if you look at all these topics as a whole and how they all fit together, then you can see enough. And I mean, really, there's plenty of researchers that have gone into this from just surface, I don't want to say surface level, but official, information, like official, say, government documents or, recorded history, all that stuff, that's what we want to focus on when we're trying to prove our case, because somebody isn't just, you can't just say, well, I read this in an article, or a blog, or I saw it in a YouTube video. That's not going to cut it for a source. So you have to actually be able to back up the claims that you're making. So, that's the challenge. But people like Michael Tessarian, for instance, I mean, he does an awesome job at that, because a lot of his work is just looking at what these people have said, what these ruling elites have actually said. They're quoted as like flat out saying, this is what we're doing. And it's almost like if you read all these quotes that they're actually on record as saying, how can you not think that there's some conspiracy? I mean, unless you want to say, well, they're just trying to make us think there's a conspiracy. Okay, so they're conspiring to make everybody believe that there's a conspiracy. Isn't that a conspiracy? I mean, either way, something's going on. Either way, we're being misled, or maybe we're flat out being told, but we don't want to listen because we're being told something else more by, people like the media or our education system, who are kind of just, they're feeding us certain information that will, as they say, they wanted to create a class of workers. They don't want, was it Rockefeller that said that, I think? I mean, so that's going to be a challenge, right? Is to be able to back up everything with, documented facts that doubters will accept as legitimate sources. So, I mean, because there are sources for all of this. It's just, now imagine all this stuff, but now you have to go back and find it. And I'm also learning a lot too going through this. I'm digging deeper into each specific topic, and so that's awesome, because I get to further my own research while putting out more content that is obviously more engaging than what I've done so far. So that's awesome. That's the goal. Like, people watching these videos, you're the reason I do it. So even if, say, you have some criticisms of the video and I might not agree with everything, I'm still going to take it into consideration, because I want to make it, engaging for everybody. And at the same time, you can't please everybody, and we're all different. So every person working within the truth community is going to have their own style. They're going to have their own voice. We all do things differently, and the work of some people is going to appeal more to some than others. And that's fine, because, again, the more voices out there, the better off we are. I mean, I encourage everybody to just get out there and do something, because somebody's going to listen, and if everybody could just reach one person, well, guess what? We just doubled our numbers. So, it's all about getting the truth out there, and, being honest about searching for truth, and not just trying to go out there and prove what you already believe. Some people are coming at this from certain perspectives. Like, I don't want to get into the whole flat earth thing, but it comes up a lot, okay? And look, I personally, I don't know, okay? It's interesting, and honestly, I've been on the fence just because of certain information that's come out about it that, makes you question. Then you have to go back and, say, okay, is this true? Why would this be? But then there's other information that shows, well, it actually is this way. And, I lean much more toward the world is round. I don't think that, the earth being flat, I know flat earthers, because here's the thing, okay? You have your surface level flat earth, which is just like whatever. Like, people think they're saying the earth is just some disk out in space and the other planets are all round. That's not what they believe. So to really understand it, I mean, for one thing, you have to actually hear all their arguments and understand what model, they're purporting, right? To really effectively debunk it, if that's what you're trying to do. And honestly, look, I'm not interested in doing that one way or the other, because I know that regardless of what the shape of the earth is, we're still being lied to, and there is still a conspiracy, and it's enslaving all of us, basically. I mean, and we need to figure out, what to do about that, and it starts by reaching people. And honestly, like, understanding natural law, living by that, and teaching that to others, that's really the only way we're going to completely get out of this. So, even if hypothetically the earth is flat, I mean, look, I haven't been to space. I haven't seen it for myself, so I can't say, okay? And I think everybody, if you're completely being honest with yourself, whether you're flat earth or round earth, you have to say that. You have to admit that, unless you're an astronaut, in which case, well, you work for a government agency, so I'm not gonna believe you, really. I mean, I might. It depends. I give everybody a chance, but yeah. Anyway, hypothetically, say we did prove, definitively to everyone that the earth was round or that it was flat. It's not gonna change the human condition. I mean, yes, flat earthers say, well, it would, because everybody would see to what degree they've been lied to. But if you look at all these things that we've been lied to, that's enough to say, yeah, we've been lied to a very great degree. So, you don't need to prove that, and then they say, well, there's all this land that they're hiding. Well, even the fucking land that we know of is enough that if we would actually live, in a way differently from what we are now, And I'm not saying we have to go back to, like, fucking whatever, living in huts or something, but I'm saying, like, go into, like, technologies that have been suppressed, and just, I mean, healthy lifestyles, all this fucking shit they're putting into our air and our water, our food. I mean, no, see, we got enough land that we could sustain ourselves as it is. So, you know, whether or not there is land somewhere that we don't know of, I mean, whether you believe in space or you don't, like, I think that's just as likely of a thing that there could be. But just based on what we know, there's enough that if we change the way we think, we'd be okay. And see, that's really what it's about, is, the mindset. And, I mean, the sooner we stop thinking it's okay to force our will on others and embrace that belief system as a whole, then the sooner things will get better. And, they don't have any power over us other than what we give them. So, once we all realize that and actually come together for once, then this ceases to be a problem. And then we can argue all day about, is the world round or flat? I mean, look, I think it's round. I think there's something to space. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I said, none of us can say anything definitively, and you have to be open-minded enough to realize the truth about your own level of knowledge. And, how much are you for sure about, or how much is just based on your pre-existing beliefs. So, I've been open-minded enough to look into, actually spend a good deal of time looking into, the flat earth movement, and, from, considered serious researchers on those topics. And I have to admit, a lot of those guys are smarter than I am. That doesn't mean that they're right necessarily, but they make a lot of really good points, and they made me think. If you truly hear out all these arguments, rather than just instantly brush it off, oh, he's an idiot for thinking that, then you might actually, I mean, I'd challenge anybody to take the time, watch, like, Eric Dubé's 200 Proofs, or, let's see, Level, and then the next level, I forget the name of the researcher, but these were recommended to me by a Facebook friend. And, I mean, they're really interesting. But then there's also some good debunking videos, and then some not so good debunking videos. I posted both, to be fair. I posted this, like, 2.5 hour debunking video in my Facebook group, and then I posted this 2-part video documentary that was recommended by a flat earth believing friend of mine, because I'm trying to be unbiased. But I think my main point is, we don't need to focus all our time on, proving this one way or the other, because, you could spend probably years really, really looking into it on every level if you wanted to. Or you could spend those years, learning about the power structure and trying to make other people aware of what's going on. So, okay, now enough about that. So, again, like I do have a certain style, but I'm also going to take into consideration how, you know, other people who express their opinion, because for everybody who expresses their opinion on something, there's probably a ton of other people that share that same opinion, but just aren't saying anything about it, right? So, what was I going to say? So, I will take all that into consideration, and what I'm going to be doing in the next video, I'm going to kind of segue into the next topic, because I want to really kind of illustrate how the deities fit into the rest of the video, and we want smooth transitions and everything, right? So in the next video, again, I don't want to give away too much, but I want to go into some of the ancient cults. And so we're talking about, for instance, like the stellar, solar, and lunar cults, which are considered to be the oldest cults. And cults kind of has a different connotation when you look back that far, in ancient history than it does today, right? It wasn't, it doesn't have the, like, kind of fanatical stigma attached to it. Is more just like religious beliefs, but just differing religious beliefs. For instance, okay, like in ancient Greece, you had this whole pantheon of gods, right? And they were all venerated for their own reasons, and they were all associated with certain things. Like one god might be associated with the earth, one might be associated with the water, and then you might have one that's associated with like farming, one that's associated with, I don't know, trees, rocks. I mean, whatever. I mean, but so they kind of all have their purpose. Like if you wanted to win a war, you might pray to a certain god, or if you wanted to, someone to have a peaceful afterlife, you might pray to a different god. So, and then you had these little kind of sects that formed that mainly focused on one god in particular. So it's almost like monotheism, but they probably still kind of recognized the other gods. So, I mean, those would be like the cults. And then, when you trace it further back, since, as I stated, it all kind of goes back to astrotheology. You might have like certain cults that focused on the stars, certain that focused on the sun, certain that focused on the moon. So, I mean, we'll kind of get into that, and we'll see how those cults went on to, kind of transform into or evolve into a more specific cult, maybe based on one god or something. Let's see, I'm trying to think of, okay, like Ra, for instance. So the solar cults, right? Well, Ra was a sun god. So, the solar cults, would go on to be more specific, and maybe this one would focus on Ra. And then we'll get into the mystery schools also. And that, I think that's there's a lot of stigma with that too, as far as, a lot of people think, well, that, they were all evil. None of this stuff is all evil, and that's just like, that's one thing you got to understand, and that's one thing that we'll see. Like, there's good people in all these groups. I mean, You know, I don't care what you say, like, until I see, like, for sure one way or the other, or, you know, something to tell me differently, definitively, then yeah, I'm going to stand by that. None of these groups were bad or good. You know, I think from what I'm seeing so far is just it's like certain people in the upper classes that were kind of either infiltrating, starting, or manipulating these groups in order to further their own agenda. And then if they get found out, they'll just move on to another group. So, I mean, but we're going to get into all that, you know, and it's going to be kind of an evolution. And then we'll kind of, so this next video will be about ancient cults. And if we have time, we might start to go into some of the mystery schools, or we might just save that for the next video. I think it might be better to save that for the next video because I already have a long list of ancient cults to go into. So I think this next video will, and I had said that it would focus on secret societies and some of the symbolism. I will go into some of the symbolism associated with some of these ancient cults, and you know, maybe a few symbols associated with Satanism in general. I mean, and symbolism is going to be a recurring topic throughout the whole series, right? Because you'll find this is like it's very important, and we'll probably do an entire video just on symbolism at some point too. So that's kind of my rough plans. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll go ahead and cut it short now. But yeah, I also can't say I don't want to give a time frame, because this video, I want to make it, I want to keep improving on my last videos, and this is going to require a lot of research, right? It's, you know, like I said, it's one thing, you know, to just say, well, I know this, but now I have to actually be able to find sources so I can back it up. So, you know, that's the challenge, is kind of, you know, that's the research that you're searching again, right, for stuff you already know, but you're going to keep learning and building on that information. So that's what I'm doing. It's going to take longer. I'm not going to say how long, but it will happen, okay? So I'm giving you my word on that. So, and if it doesn't, you know, I'll keep trying to give update videos, you know, maybe every few weeks or so, if it doesn't happen right away, because, you know, don't expect if it happens within a month from now, then I'll be happy and kind of surprised, because at the rate I'm going, and I have a lot of other stuff going on too, you know, I got work, and then I got my side gigs. I mean, it's, yeah, you know, we're all busy. So we're doing what we can, but we're going to keep going, and it's going to happen, okay? So again, thank you everybody, and take care.